What is up, Packers fans? Welcome back to another edition of the Packers People Top 300 checklist, where we are talking about tiers, not the ones that come out of your eyes, but the levels, the check marks, all that stuff. And today we're talking about quarterbacks and specifically what the Packers have traditionally liked. If you've been watching these episodes, we are going through kind of checking boxes for these guys, looking back all the way back to Ron Wolf. What have they liked at this position? We've gone through every single position. Some we feel really good about. Others we're still kind of in like the exploration, or maybe there isn't a lot of data. But quarterback, there is, and Ron Wolf even kind of talked about this a bit as well. And we'll get into all of that. But before we dive into that, guys, if you have not bought the draft guide powered by Packer Report, go out and get yourself one. We are getting down to the wire here as far as getting your draft content in before the actual draft is here. Just a few short days away from the NFL draft being hosted in Green Bay. So if you've liked these videos, if you like Packer Report, or if you follow us, and it's myself at Jacob Morley on Twitter, Ross Uglum at Ross Uglum, Jacob Westendorf. If you appreciate anything we do, it's just a good way to support us. It's a lot of work to get that book together, something we love to do, and we want you guys to see the final product. So go get yourself one. Quarterbacks. Do the Packers need one? No, they don't. And they've got two. They've got Jordan Love that they just paid to be their franchise quarterback because he is, and they're hoping, that he continues to ascend into one of the top tier quarterbacks in this league. But behind him, Malik Willis was an absolute revelation last year, a guy that they went out and got for a bag of potato chips and came in, and they don't make the playoffs without Malik Willis coming in and winning 2 games for them last year. So I think what the Packers are going to look at is, one, Malik Willis's contract is up at the end of this year. He's an interesting one. If he goes out and has to play again this year, a game or two, and he plays the same way, I wonder how he'll be valued on the open market. I wonder if someone will look at him and say, hey, we want to bring him in to compete to start. And what does that contract look like? I don't know. So it's this is probably the draft that if the Packers are going to find his replacement, carry a third quarterback this year, and hope that he can develop into that QB2. There's some guys late in this year's draft class that we're going to look at today. So what have the Packers traditionally valued at the quarterback position? It's always interesting. My buddy Peter Bukowski, he had an episode on this with quarterbacks and how they look through things. And it's always interesting to me when other people look at the data as well and come to the same conclusions. And what Peter and Jason Hirschhorn was the guy that did it on his podcast. They looked through that stuff, and Jason and I specifically found a lot of the same stuff that they like. A lot of the guys that he talks about on that podcast are guys, as I'm listening to it, just kind of nodding my head like, yeah, I think that is someone that Green Bay would be interested in with their historical data that we have. One thing that I think is really important for the Packers is hand size. That is something that Ron Wolf had talked about. If you're going to play in Green Bay, if you're going to play in the elements, you got to be able to grip that football. You got to be able to grip it and rip it. It gets cold, it gets rainy, snow. I mean, you live in Wisconsin, you know what it gets like. It's gross. And so you got to have that. You got to have that hand size. They haven't really drafted anyone that's kind of like your 6-foot type guy. They've rostered some guys that are a little bit smaller, but they prefer kind of in that 6'2" and above range. Bigger guys, they like the density, 220 and above. Can you take some hits? Can you withstand a beating that you're going to take in the NFL? And then beyond that is, they want athletes, especially late in the draft. They want guys that are going to have that athleticism that they can develop. So there are guys in this year's class. There's actually no one that is a tier 1 perfect fit for this team. Joe Milton was one last year. It's tough. It's tough. Even though the list isn't that long of things that you need to check off for the quarterback, it weeds guys out quickly. Another thing is career starts. Like they seem to really care about, have you played a lot of football, especially as a backup. I think they want that experience, and that makes sense. So guys, this year, and I'm going to have to project a little bit because there are only 4 guys with a full athletic profile. And they could be guys that Green Bay is interested in. Absolutely. But I did ask around And I've got a buddy that is in some of those circles, and just asked him, like, hey, what do NFL teams think about it as far as the athleticism of these quarterbacks? And he gave me 3 names, guys that didn't test, but they believe are really good athletes. And that is Quinn Ewers was the first one, which I thought was surprising. Kyle McCord and Riley Leonard. For McCord and Leonard, for Ewers, that was interesting to me that he said that NFL teams think he's a better athlete or a higher up athlete, because I don't think you really see that on the field. But if they think that, he could be a guy in the mid rounds, that he's clearly got the arm talent, never really materialized at Texas like I'm sure everyone would have hoped it did. But the talent is still there. He's a guy in the mid rounds that I think Green Bay could be interested in bringing in to develop. The guy that really stands out to me, though, in this entire draft class is Riley Leonard, the Notre Dame quarterback, played at Duke. You look at his body of work. It's if he played better, he'd be a higher draft pick. But he's got some highs in his game that are fun. I think he is a kind of a cerebral guy. When I look at him, I just think, man, that is a guy that can win a game for you as a backup. His athleticism, his legs can get him out of situations. If you're not familiar with his athleticism, go watch his high school basketball highlights. The guy goes a freak. So he's someone that I think Green Bay could be really interested in. This is obviously going to be a shorter one just because the quarterback position, like, it's one they don't really need one. It's going to be a day 3 type. What's interesting? I'll give you something that's interesting. The guy that's actually the closest to being a tier 1 perfect fit, we did not get an RAS score out of him because he's one of the top tier guys, is Jackson Dart, which that would be something. I can't imagine Green Bay would take him in round 1 or round 2 if he drops. I don't know, probably not, but you never know. And when the Packers took Jordan Love, I was an advocate for it because it is the most important position in sports. And if you don't have one, you're just going nowhere fast. And I am never against investing in the position. Now, pick 23, no thank you. Miss me with that. But like I said, if a guy does fall, they start falling and they're sitting there at 54, they've done crazier things. They have done crazier things, say like a Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart's falling. It could absolutely be a guy that they're interested in. What's interesting about this quarterback class, too, as I look at it, no one really disqualifies themselves because we don't have a ton of information. As far as like size and hand size goes, there's a lot of guys that fit the archetype of what they typically like as far as like just a physical build in this year's draft class. I do expect them to take one. I think day 3, round 6, 7, you take a guy and you see if you can strike gold. That was an old Ron Wolf type thing. He would always take guys like that. That's how you end up with, the Aaron Brookses of the world, the Matt Hasselbacks of the world, the Mark Brunells of the world, even, Matt Flynn got a contract to be a starter. Craig Nall got a second contract in the NFL. So these guys, they're good at IDing quarterbacks in Green Bay. So we'll see. I think it'll be interesting. One of those positions that I know a lot of people are probably going to watch this and be like, who cares? But they might take one, and then you will. So maybe this will be a circle back to it type of podcast if that does happen. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Again, go ahead and get yourself a Packer Report draft guide. Have that ready on draft day. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for your support. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch you guys next time. Until then, be excellent to each other and go Pack Go.